we're following the evolving science, including the studies from the United Kingdom, to provide the most up-to-date advice on whether a mix-o schedule is the appropriate way to go.
Tonight, mixed messages about mixing COVID-19 vaccines.
First, it was just protests of here and there, the odd protests, and a bunch of locals would be angry and upset. And now it's got to the point where it's so big that they think that they control it and own it all.
A United Nations committee weighs in on the Mi'kmaq lobster fishery.
You're not stuck inside
like office jobs. You'd never see me behind a desk.
Like, if I was behind a desk, I would be large and a little bit lazier, I guess.
And putting the fun back in a day's work. Using the chainsaw isn't as easy as it looks. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. We begin in the Northwest Territories, where hundreds of people have been displaced from their homes in Fort Simpson and Jean Marie River. Both communities are flooded from seasonal ice breakup on the Mackenzie River. Jean Marie River, a small Dene community of less than 100, was evacuated on Friday. Flooding has damaged the local power plant and jostled fuel tanks, which led to contaminated floodwaters. Carla Ridgen of Jean Marie River shot this video on Sunday as she returned to her unlivable home in an attempt to salvage a generator. She left with a single suitcase, forced to flee with her partner and 3 young children.
To the truck and heading to go pick up the kids from my grandma's. The second siren was going, and they said that the road towards my house was washed out, and the one access road that we had was already flowing over. I think our truck and the truck behind us were the last 2 trucks out, and we just made it out before it went too high for trucks to go.
Scary looking viz. And the United Nations has called on Canada to investigate acts of racist violence against Mi'kmaq people. The issue made headlines last fall when the treaty fishery was launched and traps were tampered with and a building storing lobster was torched. This all comes after the Department of Fisheries removed a treaty truck house from Sulnerville Wharf in Nova Scotia. Angel Moore reports.
When Spaganagity First Nation launched their treaty fishery last fall, non-Indigenous fishers called it illegal, and racist violence and hate speech resulted. Jason Marr remembers being surrounded in a lobster pound by an angry mob who threatened to set the building on fire. Days later, the building burnt to the ground.
First, it was just protests of here and there, the odd protests, and a bunch of locals would be angry and upset. And now it's got to the point where it's so big that they think that they control it and own it all.
Cheryl Maloney of Spaganagity First Nation is a fisher and recalls the violence.
You know, for those days and weeks following that launch, I couldn't believe that Canada was allowing this to happen and Canada was making this happen.
The United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination sent a letter dated April 30th to Canada's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva, Switzerland. It's calling on Ottawa to investigate the acts of violence, lack of response, and what Canada plans to do to respect Mi'kmaq fishing rights. Lawyer Pam Palmer of Eel River Bar First Nation is one of the authors of the submission to the UN committee. She says outside help is needed to protect human rights in Canada.
For example, removing sex discrimination in the Indian Act or getting a national inquiry into murdered and missing, that all came from pressure from the international human rights community, especially at the United Nations. And that was really our intention. To make sure that the world knows, to hold Canada to account.
Meanwhile, last Friday, the Department of Fisheries removed the treaty truck house from Sauniaville Wharf. It was placed there under the Peace and Friendship Treaties, which state the Mi'kmaq can place a structure on land to trade or sell goods. Jolene Marr of Spaganagity First Nation is grateful the UN has taken an interest.
I've been there since the beginning, and I've watched with my own two eyes the hatred towards my people from DFO officers to RCMP officers to the general public of non-First Nations descent.
Marr has hired a lawyer and hopes to return the truck house to the wharf. In the meantime, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans responded to the UN letter in a statement emailed to APTN. DFO Minister Bernadette Jordan's office said it's reviewing the letter from the UN committee carefully and will respond to the inquiry directly. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabuktuk, known as Halifax.
Well, as you just saw, DFO Minister Bernadette Jordan's office responded yesterday, saying they're reviewing the letter from the United Nations Committee. Spaganagity First Nation Chief Mike Sachs' community has been at ground zero of the fishing dispute. This is what he had to say about DFO's reaction.
Yeah, so for me, that's just a big cover up and try to, take a situation and make it seem not so bad. For the video, hopefully that, UN reviews the videos of what happened there and the lack of DFO. You couldn't find a DFO officer in the area if you wanted to.
We'd like to hear what you think about the United Nations weighing in on the fishery dispute. Here's how you can continue the conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca or leave a comment on our website. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Today's federal COVID update was mostly about vaccines, especially over the continued use of the AstraZeneca vaccine. People are nervous because it has caused a rare fatal blood clot. In fact, hard-hit Alberta is no longer giving out first doses of the vaccine. Jamie Pashagumskum brings us an update on whether AstraZeneca can be mixed with another type of vaccine.
Anyone who got the AstraZeneca vaccine did the right thing.
Tam said they are taking reports on adverse effects very seriously, and second doses will be available for those who want it. But in terms of mixing vaccines,
we're following the evolving science, including the studies from the United Kingdom, to provide the most up-to-date advice on whether a mixed-dose schedule is the appropriate way to go. And that would offer a choice, essentially, for those who have received AstraZeneca for the first dose.
Two of those recipients last month were the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and his wife, Sophie Gregoire. Intergovernmental Affairs Minister Dominic LeBlanc confirmed second doses will be available for those who want it.
We expect 665,000 additional doses of AstraZeneca to arrive in the coming weeks. And there's also another 1 million doses we have under contract with the company that we expect to arrive in Canada in the month of June. So our policy of accelerating as many doses as possible, as quickly as possible, and be able to deliver them to provinces and territories, our priority has not changed.
The feds say vaccinations are going well. So far, almost 50% of Canadians who are eligible have received their first dose. The Prime Minister said continued vaccinations are key over the next few months if Canadians want to host summer barbecues again.
But for that, two things need to happen. First, restrictions need to remain in place until cases go way down with more screening, testing, and contact tracing. We need to successfully limit community transmission. Second, as Dr. Tam said, at least 75% of Canadians need to have received their first shots.
With vaccine deliveries increasing, the Prime Minister assures first doses will be available for everyone by the end of June. Jamie Pashagumskam, APTN National News, Ottawa.
More than a week since the province of Manitoba opened up vaccine eligibility to all Indigenous adults. To help put needles in arms, urban Indigenous vaccine clinics have been set up across the province. But as Brittany Hobson shows us, it's not just about getting more folks vaccinated. These clinics offer a culturally safe space to build trust and address vaccine hesitancy. That is not the story we were hoping to bring you. We'll hopefully have it for you after the break. And we're going to step aside for a quick break now. Still to come, how First Nations in the Northwest Territories are gearing up for new jobs.
Just to have a little bit more knowledge on how to cut trees and which trees are safe to cut. And it's essential because a lot of people in Port Liard have wood stoves.
Welcome back. Well, as we mentioned earlier, all Indigenous people over the age of 18 are now eligible to get a COVID-19 vaccine in Manitoba. But as Brittany Hobson shows us, these clinics offer also a culturally safe space to build trust and address vaccine hesitancy.
Each day at the Mamawi Wichita Center's vaccine clinic begins in a good way, with the smudging of the day's vaccine supply and a morning prayer. Mamawi is one of the community organizations in the province operating an urban Indigenous immunization clinic. Marian McKenzie is the operations manager for Mamawi. She says it's important the dozens of employees at the site start each day off right.
It can be a little bit challenging. It can be, a little bit tiring seeing all this, and it is very emotionally draining when you come through and you see all these community members coming to get vaccinated, and we just know that we're helping to create a stronger, healthier bond of our circle around our communities.
The clinic opened its doors at the end of April, and since then they've administered approximately 3,000 doses. While getting needles in the arms of a community that has been disproportionately affected by the virus is a high priority, McKenzie says providing a safe space for this to take place has been the most important endeavor.
The biggest piece is that when they walk in here, they don't feel they're walking into a clinic. And the only clinical part about this entire center is literally when you sit in that chair to get the needle in your arm. Otherwise, it's very much a warm, welcoming environment for community.
This includes offering medicine bundles and having a wellness team on hand to help people with filling out forms or accessing other services.
While we have, a clinical team that is is responsible for following those clinical procedures, we have a wellness team that's really responsible for ensuring that everything is done in a good way. And we've been so lucky that we've been able to really marry these two together and find a good way to start the day.
McKenzie says she's seen a large number of elders use the clinic. Vaccine hesitancy is still relevant in the community, but she adds for some, it comes down to prior experiences within the healthcare system. Communication with a trusted organization is key. Across the city, the Manitoba Inuit Association is preparing for their second vaccine clinic. They hosted their first one for Inuit in April.
They felt comfortable that they were greeted by their fellow Inuit community. We had a huger turnout than what we thought. We had inoculated 126 people throughout the day, so we're quite pleased with that.
Janet Ganiuk is the Director of Programs and Services for the association. She says it was important for them to offer services relevant to the community they serve, including transportation, childcare, and signage in Inuktitut.
We wanted to be sure that as many people come out that's able to, that they're not scared or feel forced into getting a vaccine. We wanted to make sure that our community members were well informed with factual information, steering clear of conspiracy theories online.
Ganiak believes offering a culturally safe space has eased some of those apprehensions. The association is hosting another clinic on May 25th. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
My clinic offered tobacco as we walked in the doors. It was a great experience all around. With more federal and territorial dollars pledged to infrastructure projects, First Nations in the Northwest Territories are training up. Our reporter Charlotte Moore Jacobs takes you to Fort Liard for this story.
It's loud and dusty, but these good fellers wouldn't have it any other way.
You're not stuck inside
like office jobs. I would never. You'd never see me behind a desk.
Like if I was behind a desk, I would be large and a little bit lazier, I guess.
All jokes aside, Philip Batali, Jeff Bertrand, and over a dozen other students in Fort Liard Northwest Territories are here to earn their Level 3 chainsaw operator certification.
Just to have a little bit more knowledge on how to cut trees and which trees are safe to cut. and it's essential because a lot of people in Fort Liard have wood stoves to burn.
Bertrand is sinking his teeth in new skills he'll use every day in his job with highways, dealing with spring poles and leaners.
Yeah, it's my first time taking this chainsaw course, so I'm just basically learning on my angle cuts and my back cuts. How to fuel your fuel tank. If you run out of gas, make sure you fuel your fuel and your oil at the same time. Like, you don't want it to run out.
Vitali is here to meet his match, in cuts that is, getting ready for fire season with forestry.
20 years now, 20 years, never got hurt, knock on wood. Just want to keep it safe, keep everybody safe.
Even with years of experience, he knows he can raise the bar on endurance.
Carrying your chainsaw, you get tired. This way you carry it, it's just like your arms stretched out, and like if you hold it like this, you get more tired and you won't be able to last as long.
With the nearby NWT BC border closed and COVID-19 job losses, the Atchodenico First Nation and Aurora College have been offering free training. Tom Wieselman, with the band's construction company, says many are taking advantage.
We just did a first aid course. We did an H2S course. We do online courses as well, ground disturbance. Yeah, just various different.
This kind of kickback is positive.
What's your hope when it comes to people furthering their training?
But it will help them get job opportunities. Highways, working with the oil and gas companies, slashing. And there'll be tree trimming in town when Northwest Tel does this fiber optic line.
Given the endless supply of wood to harvest, students say they'd like to see even more courses offered.
Last year I made like a couple picnic tables just out of chainsaw, and there could be more like carpentry work, but like I make plywoods and make tables, make whatever you can. You can make anything with chainsaw.
As the tree falls and the back cut opens, so do the possibilities. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Fort Liard.
I think I'd like to sit there with Jeff and Philip and take some training lessons from them. Time to step aside for another quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Welcome back. Time now to take a look at our photo of the day. This one came to us from our viewer Charmaine, who was visiting the Winnipeg Zoo and saw some adorable dogs lined up, getting a look at the resident bison. Would have liked to see the bison. Well, if you have a great photo, you can send it to share@aptn.ca and be sure to include any details that might be featured as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 11 with showers for St. John's and Halifax. 0 with snow in Inukjuak, 8 above for Kuujjuaq. 17 in Montreal, 14 and sunny for Chibougamau. 16 in Toronto, London and Peterborough. 17 under sunny skies in Thunder Bay, 1 degree warmer for Sioux Lookout. -3 in Churchill, 17 for God's Lake and Norway House. 21 in Winnipeg and Gimli, 24 with showers in Dauphin. 21 for Regina, 20 in Saskatoon and North Battleford. 8 in Uranium City, 19 for Meadow Lake. Over in northern Alberta, 19 in Fort McMurray, 21 in Peace River. 19 and sunny for Edmonton and Medicine Hat, 18 in Lethbridge. Showers and 17 for Vancouver, 18 for Victoria. 16 with rain in Prince George, 10 and rain for Dease Lake. 5 with the chance of snow in Old Crow, showers and 11 for Whitehorse. Rain and 13 in Yellowknife, 9 with showers for Norman Wells. -11 in Sax Harbor, snow and +1 for Pawlatuck. Some sad news now. Prominent elder and residential school survivor Theodore Fontaine has passed on to the spirit world. He was 79. Theodore, or Ted Fontaine, was from Saugeen First Nation in Manitoba. He was forced to attend residential school, where he spent the next decade attending schools in what was then known as Fort Alexander and Winnipeg. He later became chief of the community from 1979 to 1981. Fontaine played for the Saugeen Old Timers, a hockey team made up primarily of residential school survivors, and he was instrumental in getting the group recognized by Canada's Hockey Hall of Fame in 2018. Fontaine most recently contributed to a new book detailing the experiences of survivors who attended the Assiniboine Indian Residential School in Winnipeg. Our condolences. Assembly of First Nations Regional Chief for Manitoba, Kevin Hart, has announced he will not be seeking a third term. He is, however, considering a run to replace outgoing National Chief Perry Bellegarde. Hart, who is our guest tonight on Face to Face, also confirms there are 2 investigations underway at the AFN.
There's 2 ongoing investigations with the data breach as well as the harassment claim. I can't make any comments on those because we haven't heard from either reports or either final reports. I know that there is an independent report being conducted right now on the harassment claim, and that also on the data breach that there's an ongoing investigation right now that for myself as an executive member I'm fully participating in.
You can watch that entire interview with outgoing Regional Chief Kevin Hart in about a minute's time. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.